The St. Louis Story Stitchers tackle the issue of gun violence. That's next on City Corner. I'm Steve Potter, and welcome to City Corner. There was an incident of a deadly school shooting recently in St. Louis. We all know a lot about that. But Story Stitchers, which is an artist collective, are addressing the issue, and we're here to find out more about them and what they do. Please welcome our guest today from Story Stitchers. It's Branden Lewis. Branden.
Thank you so much for having me.
And Dr. Hlatshwayo Davis.
No one's ever said my name that great. So good to be here.
You're making
Thank
that
you.
up, Doctor.
I'm not. That was actually phenomenal.
Let's see if I can do it again.
Let's see.
Later on in the program. You happen to be the Director of Public Health for the City of St. Louis.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing with that family name, your family's not from Indiana.
I am not. I mean, Oklahoma, but close enough. Just
But
kidding.
I mean originally.
Originally, I'm from Zimbabwe. I always wear a print, and I think people get to know that about me. So I'm proudly the Director of Health for the City of St. Louis, and I'm proudly representing in my intersectionality as a Black woman immigrant.
And I guess you've been on the job here about a year?
I have recently celebrated an anniversary. Thank you.
Congratulations, Branden. And how did you two cross paths?
We first met with Dr. Monty we were partnering with St. Louis City Public Library, city and county public libraries. We were doing podcasts. We do a lot of podcasting over at Story Stitchers. We were doing a story circle regarding public health. So it's only natural to have the director of public health. And it was just beautiful. We hit it off from the second she walked in the door. And before things were done, we just knew that we would want to do more with her.
Okay, to sort of clear things up, Story Stitchers is an arts collective, and you have a particular mission. And I mentioned the school shooting, and this all ties in. So just briefly, describe Story Stitchers to me, what you're all about.
So we're a nonprofit arts organization that works to combat inner city issues like gun violence and other issues like lacks of opportunity, lacks of skill, whatever that may be. We focus on the age group of 16 to 24. We do work with youth in the counties as well, but we focus on the inner city and we focus on gun violence specifically.
Before we go any farther, I have a very short video of Dr. Punch, who's involved in your organization. But before we even talk about that, let's take a look.
Question is, people feel like there's no help. Now, I'm a trauma surgeon. I physically operated on the consequences of trauma on people's bodies. And after 2 decades of studying that and doing that, this is what I observed. That it's not in your mind. That's the first problem. We think we can heal ourselves by sitting in a chair and talking. There is a role and there is a place for talk therapy. But let's talk about where trauma actually lives. Will you go through this with me for 1 second? Can I just break it down?
All right.
Okay.
Tell me who Dr. Punch is and why Dr. Punch is important.
So Dr. Punch is initially a trauma surgeon. Dr. Punch is also a trauma advocate. So what Dr. Punch pretty much does, have you ever heard of Punch Love? Mm-hmm. Alrighty. So what Dr. Punch does is Dr. Punch is like on the front lines as far as combating trauma goes. That's one of the first things that we did with Dr. Punch during a project of The Why of My City. We did a series of podcasts on trauma. And the podcast that we had with Dr. Punch was called Understanding Trauma. And it really helped to have someone break down what trauma actually is. A lot of people feel like you have to go through like a car crash or get robbed or something to experience trauma. What a lot of people don't realize is that trauma it's like a chemical reaction that happens in your body. You can experience trauma from anything that negatively affects you. So getting cheated on or experiencing rejection can lead to trauma. And in better understanding, we can cope and so that it doesn't manifest in other unhealthy ways.
So Dr. Davis, I think what I'm hearing here is that trauma is emotional and physical.
Trauma is emotional and physical, and it's been very present throughout especially minoritized Black and Brown communities for decades in ways that are seen, that are felt, and that are oftentimes ignored.
And that's what Story Stitchers is focusing
That's
on,
right.
to tell the stories, to help these people tell the stories and to reach out to other people.
Absolutely.
We have a short video that I'd like to share with our audience now, I Am Worth. And it features a couple of different people. Why don't we just watch it and you can comment?
Sure.
I am worthy
of peace,
of respect,
of freedom,
of happiness,
of passion.
I am worthy of equality.
I am worthy. I'm worthy.
I am worthy.
I'm worthy of trust.
I am worthy of protection.
Of protection.
Of protection. Of protection. Of protection.
Of protection.
I am worthy of protection.
I am worthy.
I am worthy
I'm worthy.
of happiness.
Of power.
Of respect.
And I am worthy of love.
Wow.
What are we hearing?
So first, I gotta look you in the eyes, young king. I'm so proud of
Thank
you.
you.
I'm so proud of all of you because that video is so powerful. They are affirming messages that so many people in our community do not hear. They are doing it simply and powerfully, and they are repeating it again and again and again and again so that we all stand up and take attention. But it's the leadership in young people who are both the oppressed, who suffer from this oppression and from this trauma, who then come to the fore as leaders in the way that we just saw. Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah, and let me ask you, part of the reason this got my attention, why I scheduled this program, was because we all remember in October the horrible school shooting. Then it was just days later, I saw an ad it was a church event, and was featuring Story Stitchers. And I just assumed you had been scheduled to be there ahead of time, but that's not the case. You jumped in days after the shooting and decided to appear. It's like a church activity for young people, right?
Yes.
Tell me how that
Harvest
happened.
Fest. So the Harvest Fest, we didn't play a role in putting the event together, but we were happy that we were invited after it had been put together. After the shooting, it just made sense for us to be there. The church and the school, Sodan, felt like the community needed to have a good time. They needed something that was healing, some place they could laugh at and have fun. And so they put this event together. They knew what we were doing. And it just made sense. A lot of us are actually alumni from Central Visual Performing Arts. And so when the shooting happened, we took it really personal. We took it really hard. And so it just made sense for us to be there helping to put smiles on people's faces.
I want to share another video now, and this is a group of people that one by one talk a little bit about Story Stitchers.
St. Louis Story Stitchers was founded in 2013 in Old North St. Louis. There was a story that caught my attention in 2012 about two sisters that were shot on their front porch. And I thought, oh my gosh, they should be able to sit on their own front porch. I mean, this is insane. And it just woke me up to gun violence. We record local stories based on themes often linked to gun violence, and we reframe them and retell them through art.
I was 16 years old. I was caught at that fork in the road, like, I'm gonna go this way, I'm gonna go that way. And, one of my cousins whom I looked up to, he was murdered in cold blood, man. And that stuck with me. Just seeing how Story Stitchers are so adamant about creating awareness for gun violence prevention is something that will always be dear to me.
To actually have a venue that actually helps children that look like me, to give them a out to actually speak, to give them voice to what is inside and for everything that they've seen.
In St. Louis, where gun violence is so prevalent, I saw the underserved youth at risk, and then I saw how the performing arts could be part of the healing process.
It is very difficult because a lot of young men don't know how to speak their piece in a safe environment. So this gives them a way to speak it and not make it become violent.
I saw nobody else better to handle that particular deal than the Story Stitchers. And so for me, it became something that I needed to do, not just a job, but a mission.
stuck in the middle of choices. My shoulder got two different voices. I know I should try to avoid this, but I can't help, I'm addicted to poison. I'm scared of this fame and this fortune, cause I know deep in my heart that I lust it, but I crushed it and I flushed it. I'm just in the middle of brainstorming. Come on, thoughts in my mind, tell me what happened. A couple years ago, I was so happy. Way before marriage and way before rapping. Seemed like my dreams has hit a miscarriage, lost, but I know I can manage. Scars on my body, some of them can't banish. I'm good with the bad and take nothing for granted, and trust in my Father, he brings understanding.
It's important to understand what the young people are saying and what they say the problems are and what they think the solutions are. Whatever happens next is going to ripple out from them. So we better pay attention. Come to Story Stitchers and you will be heard.
Seeing the intergenerational relationships, seeing the civic pride, you know, the self-awareness, and just the dope content that was being pushed from Story Stitchers. I'm like, this is a dream come true. You know, I love being able to instill knowledge into the next generation and use the arts to do it. And this meets all those needs.
You know, when I watch that video and watch the performers and hear them speak, all of a sudden I'm wondering, who does Story Stitchers help more, the people performing with the message or the people watching?
Wow. You know, that's actually a good question. I'm always surprised when we do shows well outside of our demographic, because you don't know when you're on stage or when you're about to go on stage, you don't know if they'll connect with the stories because it's not their story. You know, so you don't know how well they'll receive it or if they'll feel attacked or what the case is. And every time I hop off the stage or we hop off the stage and crowds are running up to us telling us about how what we just did positively affected them or how it touched them or how we opened their eyes to something. And it's always really, it's relieving and it feels good to hear, you know, that we're making an impact.
And Dr. Davis, is part of the reason this works so well is because the people that you're directing this to, young people in underprivileged neighborhoods, maybe don't have the advantages a lot of other people have. A lot of people don't talk to them to begin with.
Yeah, that's right. And what's so powerful about what these young people are doing by way of true leadership is they're bringing healing. I'm a physician. I've trained for many, many years, Steve, that we don't need to discuss here, around healing. But this goes beyond. This is within community engaged by the people for the people. It's truly just a sight to behold and so powerful.
All right, we're going to continue this conversation when we come back. We're talking about Story Stitchers and how they help the community. We'll be back with more City Corner after this.
Visitors and residents love the St. Louis Zoo because it's free. There's a train, a carousel, opportunities to make new friends, and plenty of fun learning experiences with the animals 363 days a year. So come and experience St. Louis.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
What I love about St. Louis is the 79 unique neighborhoods nestled into 108 city parks, including Forest Park, which is actually larger than Central Park in New York, and of course, the beautiful Tower Grove Park where I'm at now. Oh, the St. Louis Blues. We've got the St. Louis Surge, two-time WBCBL champions. We've got Harris Stowe, WashU, St. Louis University, and of course, the 11-time World Series champion, St. Louis Cardinals. So come experience St. Louis.
Did you know dragging chains can spark a wildfire?
Only you can prevent wildfires.
I'm Steve Potter. Welcome back to City Corner. We're talking about the St. Louis Story Stitchers, which is an artist collective, and what they do to work with young people from disadvantaged areas and who face certain challenges to help them deal with violence. Gun violence, just one of them. Here from Story Stitchers is Branden Lewis, and we also have the City of St. Louis's Director of Public Health, Dr. Hlatshwayo Davis.
Thanks again.
And right. And is there a reason, Branden, you're involved with this? Did you have a personal story of something traumatic happening when you were living in North St. Louis as a kid?
So similar to how, you know how if you can go to a therapist and just throughout multiple conversations, you find out that what you're suffering from now stems back to when you were a kid or whatnot. I think that's kind of one of those situations. While I was little, I lived in Pond Line, Normandy area. Until now, I haven't really lived in a place in the city that was considered particularly safe. You know, so yeah, there were shootings in each place that I lived in, and that's not like in my home specifically, but in my neighborhood. The first time I saw someone get shot, I was maybe 4. From across the street, a guy got shot across the street. Fast forward, I went to Central Visual and Performing Arts. A lot of
Which is where the school shooting happened, by the way.
Yes. I went to Central Visual and Performing Arts, which is where a lot of, I didn't know it at the time, but where a lot of the Story Stitchers art collective stemmed from. So by the time I joined Story Stitchers, the year I graduated, I joined less than a month later. It felt like a familiar setting already because a lot of the people that went to Central were in Story Stitchers. I've always been more of a conscious artist. I listen to the J. Cole's and the Kendrick Lamars. You know the people that have messages and substance in their art, and that's the art that I like to make. So this was just perfect.
Dr. Davis, as a medical doctor, you don't undervalue theater and performance as far as medication, do you?
Listen, it's critical. It's critical because you can learn things in textbooks. You can prescribe something as a pill, but there is nothing like representation and healing through the arts. It's to me, what they're doing is incredibly important.
I want to share another video. We mentioned Dr. Punch earlier, who's an important part of Story Stitchers. And this is Dr. Punch. We saw a little bit of it earlier. I want to play it. He's being introduced at a function and he's speaking. So why don't we just watch this?
A lot of times in our community, people feel like there's no help out there, or they feel like, I can't go to a therapist, I can't go to a shrink. Could you address that?
Okay, so the question is, people feel like there's no help. Now, I'm a trauma surgeon. I physically operated on the consequences of trauma on people's bodies. And after 2 decades of studying that and doing that, this is what I observed. That it's not in your mind. That's the first problem. We think we can heal ourselves by sitting in a chair and talking. There is a role and there is a place for talk therapy. But let's talk about where trauma actually lives. Will you go through this with me for 1 second? Can I just break it down? All right. When you're in an area, in a place, standing there, sitting there, and trauma comes at you through, let's say, a bullet, your body senses a threat. When your body senses a threat, before you can think anything, your nervous system, called your autonomic nervous system, it's the automatic part of your nervous system, whose only job is to keep you alive, kicks in. And there's 4 responses you have when that trauma hits. Who knows what one of the biggest responses are when you feel threatened? What do? You fight. Some of you are angry right now, and you are ready to kill somebody. Say it out loud, because my patients tell me this. You're enraged. And guess what that is? That's your nervous system inside your body signaling to you, we're not going down like that. There's another thing you do, which is, I heard it somebody else say, you run. You say, what? I ain't touching none of that. I'm staying in the house, and you're not gonna see me. Because the only way I can be safe is to be away. There's another response, and I'm hearing it from my patients as well. You freeze. You literally cannot move. And the 4th response is one that nobody really knows about, but it's the one that most helping people do, which is to desperately try to control everything around you so you can make the trauma go away. Those responses begin in your body. They are hardwired. You do and think and move and act because your body senses that threat. And here's the magic. Here's the beauty. Because it starts in your body, you can begin to unravel and heal it in your body. You have to move. Why does every culture have drumming and dance? Sometimes all we do is hold people's hands, make eye contact, and say, I got you. If we could do that for each other every day, I think we would be in better shape.
Wow, beautiful.
Dr. Davis, when you hear Dr. Punch speak, why is that the nail on the head?
It's the nail on the head, number one, because it's someone who is from the community, who's a trusted messenger. It's the nail on the head because Dr. Punch knows how to teach and educate and talk about the physical impact, immediately bringing about an emotional and automatic response. And it's a nail on the head because it's affirming. It allows people to know that what they're going through is not only normal, but expected.
Branden, in our final video, set this up for us. We call it, or you call it, Who's Ready?
Absolutely.
What are we hearing from, real quickly?
Who's Ready is a call to action. It's a song that we do in almost all of our shows.
You're
we get
in
the
this,
crowd
right?
involved. Yes. We get the crowd involved, and it's just everyone saying, like we're sick of the violence. Like let's stop it. We're ready for it to stop.
Let's watch it.
We ready. Who's ready? We ready. We ready. We ready. We ready for the violence to stop. I said who's ready? We ready. Who's ready? We ready. We ready. We ready. We ready for the violence to stop.
Looking at my city and I see it is in trouble. Instead of facing each other, they out here facing muzzles. People dropping left and right, I'm seeing families crumble. We gotta help each other cause we're all part of the struggle. While we hurting each other, I look and I see double. There's so much hurt and hopelessness that lies beneath the rubble. But if we set aside the differences, we can make change. We just gotta be humble, make our way through the rain. Cause I don't know about you, but I'm tired of seeing pain. The gang banging is old, gun violence is beyond lane. If we're not trying to save our city, then we're living in vain. Cause people out are taking lives like it's a video game. What I'm saying isn't make-believe, cause anything is possible. And if we work together, we can obliterate these obstacles. So put the gun down, get up, and join this movement. Cause there's strength in numbers, so let's get to it.
We ready, we ready. We ready for the violence to stop. Get ready, get ready. Get ready for change to come. Who's ready? We ready. We ready for a revolution. Who's ready? We ready. We're ready for the violence to stop. Who's ready? We ready. Who's ready? We ready. We ready. We ready.
the R.E. the illusion. The kids of the future, the change to come. Put the gun down, stop aiming at our heads. Don't put us in the dirt, feeling like the target on a story stitcher shirt. But we can talk it out, we should talk it out. Listen, can you hear our voices now? Singing, we shall overcome any stereotypes. Not the ones to conform, but to give off light. We have the power in our hands, so we the people need to vote. The biggest generation has the hardest time trying to cope with pain. Seem like every other day it rains in my hood, but somehow we still saying that it's all good. It's not. Black on black crimes got the city in its prime. All this worst time, I'm hurt time, we hurt time with a beast. Instead of slinging lions, they complain about the streets. Don't give up on us now, it's a sign of something new.
Put down the gun, we will not be silent. It's time for revolution, don't move violent. Put down the gun, we will not be silent. It's time for revolution. Be ready, be ready, be ready for violence to stop. Get ready, get ready, get ready for change to come. Who's ready? We ready, we ready for revolution. Who's ready? We ready, we ready for the violence to stop.
Who's ready? Who's ready? Who's ready? Who's ready?
Number one, I have to say they're also talented, but what gets me too is what hits me in my mind is they're saying something and people are listening. In the seconds we have left, what do you want people to know? Who needs to get involved? What should people do?
Absolutely. So if you're in between the ages of 16 to 24 and you're wondering how you can get involved, whether you do photography, videography, you sing, dance, rap, you paint, it doesn't matter. If you're wondering how you can get involved, if you want a podcast, whatever the case is, we strongly encourage you to go to our website, storystitches.org, where you can apply. You could also find upcoming events that we have going on there. So if you want to know what we're doing next, storystitches.org.
And I just want to say that we are supporting this work. I'm so proud of you. But it's okay not to be okay. And people in the city need to know that your leaders are coming together. I've been convening 35 trusted messengers in behavioral health on a weekly basis. They're meeting every day in the interim. We have school-based and community-based support. This is not a short-term response. This is a long-term response. But this is where healing comes. You are the trusted messengers. You are the leaders, and I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you both for sharing this, and it's very moving what you do and very important, and keep on.
Yes, thank you.
Branden, Dr. Davis, thank you so much for sharing with us today. Story Stitchers, look into it, get involved. I'm Steve Potter. Thanks for watching City Corner. Join us next time. Bye.